What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Toyota Supra and just go over some of the weird quirks that I've noticed with this car. I've owned it for a week, so I've put quite a few miles on it, over 200 miles on it, and just experiencing the car, living with it on a daily basis. There's a few weird aspects to it. These things on the list aren't necessarily bad things about the car. None of them are necessarily good things either. Just kind of weird things about the Supra that, I don't know, aren't the best, aren't the worst either, just, you know, weird quirks and stuff like that. So to start up, we are gonna go with the interior of the car. I would say quirk number one is there is some cheap plastics in here. I think the door panel is a little cheap up here. It just, I don't know, it kind of sounds plasticky and rubbery. And then as we make our way inside, this is a pretty good armrest. It's kind of hard rubber, so there's a little bit of padding, but it is still a little bit hard. And then even looking at the dash, this is not leather at all. It's all rubber and it just has like fake stitching on it. So I don't know, the overall interior I think is very nicely put together. It looks good. I just have noticed touching some of the plastics, they could have done a little bit better job being nearly a $60,000 car. Nothing that really deters me. You know, I don't look at it and think, oh wow, this is kind of cheap for what it is. Just when you do knock on it and feel some things, I wish it could be a little bit better. And with the interior plastics, the plastic they use for these coupler things, I don't know why they didn't put some type of rubber on the inside of this hinge, because when you pull your water bottle out, it's actually a really loud plastic on plastic noise. It's kind of annoying. It actually echoes in this little area that I'm at, because I don't know, it just sounds kind of cheap, and that actually does annoy me a little bit. That annoys me more than the slightly harder plastics everywhere else. But anyway, that's point number one. On to point number two, which is that this is actually a very small car. This is smaller than I was expecting. Obviously, it's a two-seater. I knew what I was getting. But especially coming from the Nissan GT-R being my daily, now this car is shifting more towards the daily. The more I drive it, the more I use it, I am finding it's very close. If you're a really big person, this might be a cramped car for you. I'm 5'11", so lengthwise, you know, legroom and headroom is really good. Just you will notice things are closer. Like this roofline right here, your head will hit. If I'm backing up, I need to duck my head down and out if I need to look back there, just because, you know, sometimes I want to look out like that if I'm backing into a spot like at a car show or something. So this is much lower than I was expecting. The actual roof line is pretty low, which does give it a really good aggressive feel. But then on top of that, buttons and things are a little close and awkward. So the sport mode button, you got your safety system, and then the whole infotainment thing. So when your hand's on the steering wheel like this, going to it, you kind of have to like put your arm way back at an awkward angle to get it. But here's a good angle, you know, hand on the steering wheel like normal. I need to just pull my arm back to hit the sport mode button, kind of pushing my shoulder back. It's a little awkward. The cubby behind these cup holders is equally as awkward to get to. As you can see, that's kind of hard to get to with my right hand. And then even using my left arm with that cubby, you can see, I have to like reach for it. So it's just, I don't know, things are smaller, a little closer than you'd expect. It's just a little weird to get used to. So on to number three, we're gonna go ahead and start up the car. Now the premium models will all have heads-up display, which is a really cool system. Now the drawback is if you wear polarized sunglasses, it makes it almost impossible to read. Now we'll zoom in a little bit. I don't think you guys can see it at all. I can see it with my eyes, and then as I rotate my polarizer filter on my lens, you can see it pop up. So when you are driving, this is pretty much the view you get, but with polarized sunglasses on, it limits it to closer to a view that looks like this. So you can barely see it. If I turn my head this way, it'll go away, but if I turn my head that way, it reappears. So I have noticed with my polarized sunglasses, it kind of makes the heads-up display completely useless. The normal sunglasses that I have that are not polarized obviously doesn't affect it. So next up on the list, this is a nitpicky, weird quirk to point out. I noticed this just the other day, is the sun visors. Now here's the weird thing that I have noticed, and I don't know if I'm wrong or not. I'm pretty sure I am right, but I think they only do this, which is weird because this hinge looks like one that would make this pivot out, but this hinge right here, there is nothing that would indicate that this pops off. I don't want to break it. You can see a line of plastic here and a tab to where this could come off to be unscrewed if you're replacing it, but it doesn't have any quick release hinge that actually shows this being something that can go that way. Most sun visors with this hinge especially are ones to pivot. This is a pivot hinge, but this does not release itself at all, which is just really odd. So I don't know, that's just kind of weird. I noticed, I don't think I'm missing something. Like, I'm pretty confident it does not swivel. So I don't know, that's kind of weird. All right, on to the next order of business as far as weird things as I move away from a bee that was trying to attack me. Back to kind of the point of how small and hunkered down this car is. This roofline is a little bit lower depending on how you get out of the car. So if you open the door and only open it a little bit and try to crawl your way out, a lot of times my back will hit this. So just getting out like this, you can see how close it is. And once I put my other foot down, I don't know, it just gets a little bit close. So depending on how big you are, just your sizing, how far you open the door, it can be slightly awkward climbing in and out of the car, just because the way the roofline is, and actually with the door closed, I mean, this window over here is the size of my hand, so it's not big right in this general area. Which of course, if you're buying this car, you know it's a small car. It just has taken a little bit getting used to, since I am used to the GTR. So even getting in it like this, my back touches it half the time, and you kind of gotta tilt your head a little bit and then crawl yourself in. So next up on the list, now this is a two-door, two-seater car, so I don't know if most cars would have this feature or not, but I do think it is a little odd that there is no quick release on these seats to actually slide them forward and get them up out of the way. So you gotta push it forward to let the automatic seat do its thing, and then do the recline button to keep getting it out of the way. And now we can get to the back side. And again, there's nothing back here, so it's not like you're really gonna be using this, but you do have a leather pouch behind the seat. So you could put items, you know, both seats have that leather pouch. They have the child anchors behind each seat as well for left-hand drive or right-hand drive. So it's not like you're actually gonna be back here often, but to even get access to here, it is kind of annoying. Again, I don't know how many two-door, two-seaters like this have a quick release like that, but it is one thing I've noticed just when I've been messing with the car, there's no release or anything. So next on the list, no video about the Toyota Supra and talking about weird quirks would be complete without talking about the fake vents. I've kind of heard this to death on YouTube videos, so I'm just gonna mention it briefly. But yes, there are quite a few fake vents on the car. In all honesty, I don't think they look bad. It looks really cool having this one by the headlight. You know, from a distance, everything looks really cool. The one on the hood, I think, has an aggressive appearance to it. The one on the door, I do love the way it looks, just how everything swoops together. And then moving our way to the rear, we got the vents by the taillights as well. So they look cool, but it is kind of crazy how such a performance-oriented car has fake vents in every single body panel, pretty much. So I don't know, a little overkill. Toyota does say that they did it because of the tuners. You know, tuners can modify the car and make them functional. I think that's kind of just their easy way out of it. So we have 2 items left on the list. The next thing, which is kind of annoying, I don't know if I can fix this, which is the auto start stop feature. So the car automatically starts up in automatic mode, everything just normal basic mode. The auto start stop feature, which is this button right here, will be in the on position. So when I'm in drive, you know, if I'm in traffic or something going, when I come up to a stop sign or a stoplight and stop all the way, the car is going to shut off, as you can see. So right now the engine's not running. You don't hear anything. I'm not a fan of that this is the default. I don't know if I can go into the computer system and make that not work. Now, if I just press this button here, the engine starts back up, I'm still parked, and I can proceed on my way. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know how the auto start stop feature works. Let me turn it back off now. When you come to a stop, the engine shuts off, but as soon as you take your foot off the brake, it starts right back up and you're on your way. So I'm just not the biggest fan. Comment down below, you BMW guys, can you change that? Next up, which is the last thing, is the lane keeping assist. So I'm gonna hit the safety system button. As you can see, I have this, whoa, my polarizer is way off, there we go. I have it on a custom setting. So if I go down to customize the settings, for lane departure, I have that off. So I'll just go ahead and put it on early just to show you this. And then the steering intervention, basically the car takes over. If I cross a line, it's going to steer me back into place. As far as I know, it only does it above 40 miles an hour. That's what it says on the screen. So now that we are on a main road, the little icon comes up on my screen telling me that it is activated. Basically, it's gonna watch the yellow line on the left and the white line on the right and keep the car in lane. So for safety reasons, that is a cool aspect, but this car is just very, very intrusive. I don't know if I can really duplicate it, actually right there. So it just kind of pulled me over from the little divider that was in the road. And right there, it did the same thing. So even going on this road right here, going towards the yellow line, it'll turn me over into it and keep me going straight, which is neat. Like it's following that white line, keeping me going uphill this way. So it just did that again all by itself. And it's saying keep me in my lane, all that kind of stuff. The drawback that I'm finding is it kind of gets too excessive, because if there is something I'm trying to avoid in the road, it doesn't let me avoid it. So pretend there's a dead animal that I'm trying to avoid. If I try to drive around it, it is fighting me to do that. And I don't know if it comes off on camera, but that I think is an unsafe thing, because obviously if I need to avoid something, I need to do it. My car can't fight me and bring me back in lane. So I'll try to duplicate that again, going 50 miles an hour, trying to go over the line. Like, it's hard to turn the steering wheel and make you go over the line. And if you're just thinking, you know, you see something in the road, a split-second decision you have to make to avoid an object, which I've had that happen, that split second of it fighting you could literally cause an accident. So we'll do another one just as if I'm actually trying to avoid something. Like, I don't know, it's weird. I don't like it at all. I'm honestly just gonna keep it off, but I don't know. It's keeping me in the lane, which is cool, and after a few times it'll beep at you telling you to put your hands back on the wheel. But you can't have a car where it's gonna fight you if you need to avoid an object or something like that. But as far as any downsides, those are just some weird things about it that I've noticed. Some things just take a little bit getting used to, and then of course the previous video, things I actually don't like about it. But I think that's gonna wrap up today's video. I promise these are the only 2 videos that I'm gonna make that goes over negatives, because everything else I genuinely love about this car. I can only nitpick the downsides, which I think that is a really good sign that this car is actually pretty awesome, that I genuinely can't find any issues with like the car. It's just an awesome car, so I'm perfectly happy with it. But anyways, that is it for today's video. Give the video a huge thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next video.